You know those headlines we always see about migrants crossing borders? The focus is always on the drama of the travel itself. But honestly, that's just chapter one of a much longer story. So today, we're going to go beyond the crossing and really dig into the hidden journey that starts after someone arrives.
So, what really happens after that journey we see on the news is over? It's so easy to think, okay, they've arrived, the hard part's done. But for millions of people, that's the exact moment the most complicated, the most exhausting part of their story actually kicks off.
All right, let's start with the part of the story we're probably most familiar with, the perilous crossing. And let's be clear, this isn't just a trip. For so many, it is an immediate life or death struggle. And that experience, it casts a long shadow over everything that follows.
Yeah, this is so far from simple travel. It's a full-on battle for survival. Every single step can be loaded with danger, whether it's from the natural world or, all too often, from other people.
You can really break these threats down into three big categories. First, you've got brutal environmental hazards. Think scorching desert heat or unbelievably rough seas. Then there's the human factor. Violence and exploitation from criminal groups looking to make a profit. And we have to talk about gender-based violence, which is a constant and terrifying risk, especially for women and girls on these routes.
But let's say you survive the physical journey. That's just the first hurdle. What comes next is a completely different kind of battle. Trying to navigate this incredibly confusing, completely overwhelming maze of bureaucracy.
Just try to imagine it. You land in a new country, and bam, you're thrown into this maze. First, you have to figure out these super complex quota laws. Then you start the process to get legal status, which can drag on for years, all while you're trying to sort through rampant misinformation. And without that official piece of paper, you're pretty much locked out of the most basic public services. It's just this exhausting, demoralizing loop.
This whole situation leads to a condition known as irregular status. And trust me, this is way more than just a paperwork problem. It's a state of constant vulnerability. It means you can't report a crime because you're terrified of being deported. It means you can't open a bank account, you can't easily see a doctor, you're effectively invisible and totally unprotected.
So, after the immediate dangers and after that bureaucratic nightmare, there's still another huge mountain to climb: economic survival. This is the nitty-gritty, day-to-day struggle of trying to build a brand new life, literally from the ground up.
And this is where we see something that is honestly just so frustrating. It's a phenomenon called brain waste. This is when you have highly skilled professionals, engineers, doctors, teachers. They arrive with years of valuable experience, but their qualifications aren't recognized. So they're forced into low-skilled jobs just to make ends meet. It's an absolutely massive loss of human potential.
And to make matters even worse, there's often a huge wage gap. A migrant worker can earn up to 25% less than a local worker for doing the exact same job. Think about that. And this isn't just about getting unfair pay. It forces them into these precarious situations with almost no protection, which makes them incredibly vulnerable to exploitation. And of course, low wages have a direct and painful impact on the most basic need we all have: a place to live. The struggle for stable housing is just constant. It often pushes families into overcrowded, sometimes unsafe conditions. And this, in turn, opens the door for predatory landlords who know their tenants have very few, if any, other options.
And that brings us to the final piece of this puzzle: the challenges that are often the most profound and almost always the least visible. We're talking about the deep internal struggles of integration, mental health, and just trying to find a sense of belonging in a whole new world.
This really gets to the core of it, right? The human cost. Because the trauma and the stress, they don't just vanish the second you cross a border. No way. It's this long-term burden that seeps into every single part of a person's life: their mental health, their family relationships, their very sense of who they are. And these unseen hurdles, they are huge. Language barriers and mental health strains are often the biggest. So many migrants are grappling with PTSD, depression, and anxiety from everything they've been through. At the same time, they're dealing with cultural dislocation. Family dynamics get really tricky when kids start to assimilate faster than their parents, and then layered on top of all of that is the daily pain of discrimination.
So, when you put it all together, the perilous crossing, the bureaucratic maze, the economic battle, and the psychological scars, it becomes crystal clear, doesn't it? For a migrant, arrival is not the end of the story. It is the very beginning of a new, incredibly complex struggle for survival, for stability,
and ultimately for belonging.
All of this really leads to one crucial question. If the real journey only begins after arrival, what does it truly take for someone to feel like they belong? Not just to live somewhere, but to actually become a part of it. Now that's the question that really matters. Thanks for exploring it with us.